Herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of Glands processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge. In a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GANS plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced, energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered, which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection, as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists, and healthcare centers. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information.
The process of understanding is very simple. The process is, as I explained last time, I explained more in detail. We are created out of the rays within the center of the universe. In interaction and reduction in strength and division by the strength in certain strength fields, in collection of the totality of the expansion of the universe, some energies, some dynamic fields have come together. Over billions of years, these fields lead to the creation of what we call the sun. Where the plasma gathers together. The same process repeats again because the sun is the same as the energy center of the universe. Now, the heavier, the larger amount of the energy which is collected in this span of the universe, we call the sun, that irradiates out, does the same thing again. Radiates its fields out, and in interaction with the itself, with the fields of itself, leads to creation of planet. In that process of the creation of planet, the same process happens again. In the interaction of the fields of the earth with its environment and cooling and exchange with the strength of the other things in the environment of the space of the solar system, leads to creation of man, cell, matter state. And that itself, in coming together and slowing down in certain ways, as we call, leads to another sun. We call the soul of the man. This is the truth about the life and creation of the man. But if the soul of the man can understand and absorb and be correct with his conduct, he can become the strength of the fields and carry the strength of the field of the planet which came to this creation. And if the soul can understand with the same process, can interact, can be correct, can absorb with itself the totality of the strength of what it needs, he shall become the sun. And then the same soul has the energy that it can absorb within the solar system, within the galaxy, shall become the center of the universe. Earth, we call it the rain, come from and goes back to. Solar system, we call it planetary system. We come from the rays, we become the planet, and we go back to the mother. The same thing happens with the galaxies, with the solar systems, which they get absorbed back in and they chewed up back into the universe. The life, the process of existence in the universe is the same. It doesn't matter what exchange and what extent. So, what is the man fighting for? Why do we fight for something which has come from the point of the creation, and in the process it goes back to the creation? The soul of the man, as the energy of the earth, gives the face of the man, the face of the earth, and that process is the same for the soul of the man. Our soul, in reduction in strength, in interaction with the emotion of the field of the environment, leads to manifestation of the existence of the man. But once it's completed, does it need the face? Or can it be and becomes free from it, what we call the soul of the man, be free and detached from its existence? Our soul is part of the process of the creation. The key to one question, who man shall be in the future, to be answered, as we saw the sun became the earth, and as we saw the earth became man's soul, what would be the destiny of the soul of the man now becomes free at the point of departure from physicality? Would it become the sun for creation of another life, or many lives, or correction of lives? This shall be, and this is how it happens. When you create a soul which is not correct, which is misconduct by itself, cannot give, you lead to the creation of this next cycle of creation, which has started the wrong way, the wrong strength. This is one thing the man has never understood. You become the creator of another universe, another cycle. And this is what you have to judge within the structure of the soul of the man. What would I like that cycle to be? In the physical life, we create children. In the dimension of the life of the soul of the man, what that man, what that soul will create. If man has thought up to now, that's it, my end, my point, when I die is finished, there's as much fallacy that when the sun is destroyed in any shape or form, there shall be nothing left. But we know the part of the sun becomes part of the galaxy and becomes part of new life. So shall be the soul of the man. The judgment of the man has to be according to what he sees the future his soul can conduct to be. The day of judgment is for the man, not in front of the Creator. That what my soul judges to be and what shall create. Man never understood and shall never understand till can solve this dilemma within itself. The reality is very, very, very real. And that is, as we've seen, the energy of the galaxy become the sun, the energy of the sun has become the earth, and the energy of the earth has become the soul of the man, so shall be the soul of the man, which is the energy itself, another cycle of life. How can you change when you don't understand? How can you change the process of understanding if you do not understand the process of the creation? Do we need to extend the understanding of the man that what is the future he brings? We care about our children, what education they get, what they wear, how happy they'll be, where they sleep. Now the man has to be careful and consider, what life shall my soul create? Because those are the children of your soul. As we see, the rays of the sun has become a planet and 7 billion children of it. 7 billion unlimited, which is growing. So the soul of the man will go through the same process. How many billions and subdivisions and sub-matter state of the physicality of the man your soul shall create? Would it be the soul of wars and conflict and forever killing? Or would it be the soul of this, let's say, solar system, which is peaceful? This is the truth and the reality about the soul of the man. First of all, as I said many times recently, we never understood that the soul of the man is within the structure of the man. And now that we understood, we understand on departure from the physicality of the man, the same process will carry on as it did for a star, a planet. And the soul of the man becomes another energy source, a higher order, which itself leads to the creation. It becomes the star, it becomes the center of the new cycle of creation. This is what the human race has to understand. The cycle actually starts from the point of death and not finishes at the point of death. In so many ways, if one understands, is as the dusts, specks of dust came together to make the earth in the solar system, so has the specks of the atoms has come to be the creator of the man. And the essence of the creation of the specks of dust on the solar system has led to the creation of the man. So shall be the fields from the soul of the man which lead to creation of another cycle of life. What kind of life man would like to have to be created by his soul? This is the day of judgment. This is what man never understood. Now you have to understand. You have no choice. Up to today you were not aware of it. From today you are aware of it. You are responsible for it. Your conduct has to be to elevate your soul. That in elevating the soul, what you become the creator of stands correct in the conduct of the citizens. We don't give fairy tale. This is the truth about it. As you've seen, the process does not stop with one sun. The cycle carries on. It's very interesting in how humanity now knows in fact to handle the fact. It'll take decades for man to understand, and then you understand those who become the tools of war, the tools of conflict. They have less, they have nothing to start with. They have to become the dust in the solar systems of the others till the day they learn more, as they cannot create a new cycle through their own soul. This is the elevation of the soul of the man. To be part of the creation of a beautiful life for the next cycle. When you don't have it, you have to become another cell in the body of the structure of the bigger, for you to be just there that it can done when you could have been the soul of the man. They say, do not create fear. I give you the point of love for creation. If you cared about your children on this planet to have the best, your true children come out of your own soul in the coming time. How would you like to educate them? How would you like to be when you are in conflict with yourself and the cause of so much mayhem? This is the truth, and the man will take a long time to understand, as now that we understand the soul of the man is the operator for the creation of the future extent of the life of the man. Whatever is gathered by the soul at the end becomes his point of reference of his own creation of his own dimension. But the strangest thing is, what he creates from his soul shall become the creator of the other souls. This is the beauty about the creation, and one understands it, understands no limitation.
Welcome everyone to the 378th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, April 29th, 2021. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the Public Teachings in English. My name is Rick Kremd. I'll be a host today, and we are hosting Mr. Mehran Keshe, as usual, in these weekly workshops. And I believe he's ready to go to present today's workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Good morning, good day to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers, Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute. Today's teaching is a follow-up of the past 2 or 3 weeks, and we carry on the same way. We proceed further to understand more about the interaction between the fields of the soul of the man and the fields of the soul of physicality of the man, and the response to and from these positions. In the past 2 or 3 weeks, we start showing the strength and the manifestation of the fields of the soul of the man in interaction with the fields of the soul of physicality, which leads to creation of what we call the brain of the man. When we know a body has taken a shape and the body is mature both in soul and soul of physicality, is when we see the blood circulation, which starts in the early weeks of the life by circulating the emotion of every cell in the physical dimension, it starts leading to the creation of the brain of the man, where the interaction of the fields of the soul and the interaction of the field of soul of physicality leads to the creation of the physical structure of the brain. There has been a discussion for so many years by the knowledgeable people and the scientists and theologists, when does actually the soul takes over the body? when does it actually operate? Up to now, the soul was created at the point of when the fields of the cells of the body of the man, which came from the sperm and the egg, lead to the creation of the soul of physicality, which is the first heartbeat. And then comes the first cells and structure of the brain of the man. So in a way, we can say the physical operation of the body starts when the brain is formed. When the soul of the combination of the, what we call the sperm and the egg, which is the original soul of the creation of the life, in creating its own dimension of physicality and the first heartbeat, which creates the first cage of the magnetic field to contain the interaction between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man, and the brain is formed, then the life is true. This is the time when the soul has taken shape and works between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man. Then this closes the discussion between the scientists and the theologians that when actually life is alive, when we respect life. Up to now, when the soul was created in the interaction between the soul of the physicality of the man and the soul of the man, that brain created, now we call life, has been a tradition on this planet. From now on, we teach and we show how you use and create a full soul that exists on itself. And then because that soul is pure and perfect, then it decides and creates the direction and dimension of the physicality. This is how the change of time has come, where now the soul of the man is fully created in advance of what we call physical life. This way, physical life cannot go wrong anymore. Man will not commit a crime. Man will move into the next step, that with a perfect soul in operation, the physicality will take a new shape and life. In a way, we change the situation and the condition of the birth from now on due to and for the fact that there shall be no more crime. There will be no more what we call breaks, no more failures in the operation of the physical life. In this process, we will see the first cycle of lives starting on this planet. We'll go through this process where there will be no hunger because the soul will feed the physicality. These are not theory anymore. These are the structures that we show, what we have set up, and we will see the manifestation. This is where the soul of the man could not support, and he had to rely on the soul of physicality to feed it, to contain it, that when he matured, it could leave, or when he had the position of the time of the field strength to expand beyond the physicality. For the first time, the soul of the man is in control from the point before the inception of the creation of the physical dimension. In the future time, we explain how and the way it's done. So it comes to the fact that how come that the soul of the man, in creating the hard condition to be separate life on its own, due to the understanding of the principle that body of the man is made of gases, is made of the plasmas, and the plasmas operate only through the heartbeat. If you cannot create a heartbeat within the plasma of the body of the man or the soul, this is not a life, this is not a soul, this is not a condition of living without depending. So when you come to the point that the soul of the man, which itself has a heartbeat, is come from the creation of two separate cells from the egg and the sperm, has its own heartbeat that it takes over. When it creates the dimension of the creation of the physicality with the environment of the womb of the mother, then when that entity gets its first heartbeat is the time when the soul of physicality starts growing. In a way, the total cells within the body start pumping. In the electric motors, we need an electric current to start a motor. In the plasma world, we need the heartbeat. This is why now the scientists tell us that even the earth has a heartbeat. The sun has a heartbeat. Our universe has a heartbeat, because without the heartbeat, plasma and magnetic fields cannot release their fields. They cannot expand. They cannot divide. They cannot mutate. This is why the man has a heartbeat. Pulsation is the essence to the creation of the plasma and life of plasma. As heartbeat pumps, creates variation in the dynamic strength of the fields, and in that variation creates the division, interaction, and in that process, creation of new dimension, as the variation in the strength of the field of the pulse decides the dimension of physicality or the dimension of the life of the entity. As I said, in the world of the plasma, nuclear plasma physics, we don't look for frequency. We don't look for anything else except the pulsation. This is why man dies when the heart dies, when there is no pulses to circulate. This is why man goes through the process of aging, because as the heart gets weaker, it creates a different magnetic field, which interaction with the cell of the body, it's a lower strength to the point that it cannot. If the mankind could keep the heartbeat of the man at the rate of the birth, man stays young forever. This is why they tell us all the time to exercise. They tell us why to do more of everything else, that we keep active. This is why we see most of the people who live an active life live a very near, close, long life, because the heartbeat stays there. The biggest problem for the physicians of the future is to be able to regenerate the heart tissues that stay young. And then man will never die in a dimension of physicality most of the time, unless there's an accident or something through the evolution. Then mankind, maybe for the first time, finds one of the keys to everlasting life is finding the processes that the physical heart keeps the strength of the magnetic field of the blood circulation the same as the point of the birth. Maybe at the age of 18, which is the maximum, we generate the best. In so many ways, now we understand more. And then in that process, can I have the sharing of the screen, please, Rick? Thank you. In this process, we come to understand when you have the soul of the man as the sun in the center, and in radiating and interacting with 2 or 3 the gravitational magnetic fields, leads to the creation of the brain with the circulation of the blood, and in that process to the dimension of the physicality of the man, where man creates a skeleton of bones to contain and live, and the interaction between the fields of the soul of the man and the soul of physicality leads to creation of what we call the brain of the man. In a way, for the first time, we understand the full cycle of creation. We understand the full process, how we are created and how we can interact. As I said before, when it comes to dimension of the soul of the man, the bone structure, it sits outside. When it comes to the dimension of the soul of physicality, the bone structure sits inside. Because this is the way the magnetic fields of the physicality dictates the structure. And then what the compromise comes, the soul of the man in conjunction with the physicality, creates what we call the skin of the man, where the skin is part of the same brain and with it condition of existence. But when we speak to the physicians, they tell us the cell of the lung of the man is made from the same structure, connected to the same structure, which this brings a new dimension in science of the what we call physiology of the man, which we come to it later on. But touching it, we can explain that as the soul of the physicality and the physical part of the gravitational magnetic field of the earth created the physicality of the man, which is from the solid part, then the air part, the atmospheric part, has its own control. And with that control, it has created the lung in a connection with the brain of the man. That in that process, the lung, up to now we thought is a process of just breathing, is actual the central control for connection of the soul with the gaseous part of the life. This is the beauty of the creation, where the life of the man depends on the gaseous and the earth and the liquid. And for each one, the body, the soul of the man, in interaction with each other, have brought its own process and its own control. That in conjunction with the soul, they dictate life. You take the blood from the man, man will die. You block the oxygen or circulation of the blood from the man, man will die. You stop the man to breathe, man will die. Because even though we are combination of the creation of the physicality of the interaction of the soul of the man, but each part in interaction with the soul has created its own operational control. And all in collection and connection create the heartbeat in the center that all interact together. The physical part depends on the heart of the beat. The lung depends on the heartbeat. The process of circulation of the liquid depends on heart. Now we understand why even the heart of the man is positioned where it's positioned. Because the heartbeat creates a vibration even in the lung. That lung heartbeat allows the interaction of the fields of it with the soul. This is why in the past teachings, for the first time you understand, we explain how by breathing you can control the strength of the fields of the soul of it. Because it's one of the three controlling systems, is one of the three partners which have in a way engaged the soul of it. If one understands this, then in the coming time, we understand how we can control life in the depth of the universe. What happened when we go to a planet when there is no oxygen? How do we change the process of the conversion and interaction with that dimension? What happened when we land in an environment which is just a plasma and the soul of the man? Then the physicality of the man to manifest itself will become in the interaction between the soul of the man and the structure of the plasma fields of the environment. Will not have the lung, will not have the blood circulation we have, but it'll be a pure interaction between the soul of the man and the soul of the physicality or the dimension of the physical fields of the plasma of the environment, and then we'll have a plasmatic life. We will not manifest ourselves in the physical of 2 arms, 2 legs. Then we have a different dimension of the control and what we call interactions. We see these kind of lives in the upper atmosphere of the Earth as it's been reported by NASA. As we've seen, space cameras have taken the shape where the soul sits and the interaction with the field of only the gaseous part, the upper levels only has one dimension. We don't see inertial field of the matter state to see a physical body of the bone in them. We've seen this video many times in the teaching of the Keshe Foundation, where NASA reports in their videos seeing fields moving in a manner. Because when you have the soul of the man interacting with the field strength of the environment, it has life, it dictates its position, it moves. Now we can, for the first time, see at the upper level of us, in the upper atmosphere of this planet, we have a different life we didn't know. We have the fish in the seas, and we have a life above us that, as is too far from the inertia to interact to give it a physical dimension, the soul of the entity in interaction with the fields of the earth in the upper atmosphere and the fields of interaction of the sun creates a new life. In a way, as I said before, maybe for the first time we understand, we are the bottom eaters of the atmospheric condition. As we see when a body sinks in the oceans, lands in the bottom, there are scavengers, there are bottom eaters which take benefit from what falls. And there is nothing below us on the ground. So whatever falls from the top as the energy fields, we take, we breathe, maybe it becomes part of our life as it sticks to the environment to become existence for us. We are the bottom eaters of the top. And in a very near future, we will show this. Because even those lives on the upper level have a limitation of interaction of the fields. And if they change, they lose the dimension of the field strength, they become closer to the earth and they take shapes of the physicality. They take and they become what to be. This is very heavy for a lot of you to understand, but this is the truth. The way we shower the bottom of the seas with the remnants of the body of the animals or whatever which the bottom eaters eat, we ourselves are the bottom eaters of the life above us. But they live in the dimension of no physicality and just but fields. In a coming time, when we go into space in the dimension of the plasmatic fields, in the collective interaction, we will get to know these animals. We say we have so many hundreds or thousands, 1,500 creatures on this planet, and so many thousands in the oceans. Now we come to understand about the life above us, which is in more dimensions and diversity that we didn't know. We open the eye to the existence of the interaction of the fields of the environment and the soul created from their interaction, which creates life. If Rick can go into the videos of archives of the Keshe Foundation, which we have, or on the internet, we see NASA reports these objects flying. This is not theory, this is the fact. But now, for the first time, we can put meaning in a correct way. Then it comes the fundamental point that last week we touched on it. The hormones, the interaction of the field of the physicality of the man in nearness to the source gives us what we call the hormones, which we explained in the center of the body of the man with the glands, which is the conversion of the field interaction between the two. This is where the hormones are created. In so many ways, mankind has come to understand in the interaction of the soul of the man with the containment of the soul of physicality, magnetic field we call blood circulation, mankind to benefit from the existence of the presence of the what we call the soul, he has created substations near it as glands to convert these energies when it comes to the physical dimension. Mankind speaks about the position of the gland in front of the head. this exists? Because this is the interaction of the fields of the soul of the man with the outside environment. Some people, they have given different names to this, but in fact, the way the planet, the body of the man interacts with the physical side through the glands to the conversion of what we call the hormones, the same thing happens with the outside dimension, with what we call other souls. This is a substation that can, in a way, be more powerful than the inner from other glands that allows, and this is where we get our what we call interaction of, and the vision and the hearing of in conjunction in passing through. And in this process, what we see, the body of the man in all of us has created itself a new way that most of us have not been aware of. But in the process of the completion of life, this process led to the creation of a brain, which in two halves, creating yin and yang, balance between the two parts of the soul of the body of the man, leads to the left and right brain. And in conjunction with the matter state balance of the physical body of the man, the copper, as we explained in the past teachings, brings this process of creation of the physical left and right, where it has to stay in balance. But there is another dimension to this, that in controlling the physical life, the brain of the man has played a purifying game. What has happened is that the soul of the man in the center, in conjunction with what we call the glands, in interaction with the blood circulation, in the fields in coming in touch with each other, and with the glands at the field strength of themselves, creating fields. That's what actually the glands do. And in that process, different dimension of the fields on the bottom part leads to the creation of the physical life. But in the brain of the man, the same game played, where in the interaction of physical parts, we have the liver and the kidneys and the lungs and everything else positioned to be able to interact with gravitational magnetic field of the earth. On the other side, the same shape comes to operation, where the specific position is the place for a speech, a special position is for happiness, a special position is for emotion and different things. The same way as we have a structure in interaction with the physical life, with the earth, the interaction between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man leads to the construction of what we call physical dimension control, where at the end of it, the two agree that we let the physical life part of the brain to stand outside, that it can have a control system. This is why when we look at the body of the man, when we see, like people in a stroke, the field strength in the middle part of the brain becomes your shoulder and upper part. The upper arm to your elbow becomes this part of the brain. And in that operation, we see, for example, the appearance by your ear, the fingers control hand and the lower. The same position is with your legs, the upper leg, which is here, and then the shin. And there's a specific point in the body of the man, which is in charge for and only of what we call femur. And then you have what you have as lower arm and lower foot and the toes and the feet. Now we understand the full process. And then we see how these interact, and in their interaction of the fields ingoing and outgoing, every emotion of the man is recorded. A man who has a ILS, by the wish of the feel of the soul of the man and soul of physicality, decides no more walking. I want this section to be dismantled. And when this section is dismantled, then the body has an energetic field which cannot handle, and that energetic field, even the heart beats, the body dies. This is why the emotion and interaction of his field with the soul of the man leads to what we call death, because the soul of physicality has pre-agreed the condition with the soul of the man that this guy doesn't want to have the use of his arms and legs, so we disconnect it. And it takes time to disconnect. And that's what we see. People with ILS, with MS, go through paralysis. And then they die, because even the heartbeats, the physical connection has been disconnected. And this is why it's very hard to reverse it, because you have to be a master to realign all these at the boundary inside. This is why we have seen the success with the use of what we call external energy field forces, which can create these secondary fields in a false condition, not in what we call as to be there, but there is no physicality. And then if you succeed, physicality takes shape. This is why in the coming time, when we say if they take your kidney out, we can produce it, because your kidney has created a gravitational magnetic field in its position of creation. All we need is to create that field in this environment, and the kidney will manifest itself, because its position of field strength sits there. It's not no more magic. It's no more hidden, what we call information. We have deciphered the secret of life. We have deciphered that the mankind will see the totality of the strength of field of its existence. You do not need to go through kidney transplant anymore, if you understand, to have your kidney operating. You need to create a field that allows the kidney to restructure itself to its original position. There is no need for dialysis machines. This is why when you go for the cups of life for diabetic, we tell you to wash your kidney, because the kidney condition in interaction with the hormones from the brain in a condition of psychosomatic creates the structure of the kidney to change, that creates the condition of diabetic. This is why many of you, when you take the cups or when you make the, what we call, you follow the procedure for the diabetic, you say it doesn't work. You miss two things. First of all, you missed to cover your kidney and the liver area with the ganses back and the front, that you bring the balance back to it without cleaning up, without repairing the kidney. As I said, it's like a car which continues to have an accident and you keep on repairing the body, but you never change the brakes, which is not working and hitting you, letting you smash your car here and there. Then we understand the process. Then we come to understand the totality of the creation. Why do we tell you to breathe? Because you have to bring the agreement of the, what we call the gaseous part, which is controlled by the emotion of the interaction of the field of the lung and the soul of the man, in order and balance with the physicality which you repair the kidney. Otherwise, you're still limping. You haven't done the soul job. You put the pad on, but you forgot to put the pin in, that the brake works. This is why in all dimensions, all of you, when you use the cups, oh, I'm drinking 3 times a day. You can drink 200 times a day. What about the emotion side? What about the gaseous side? What about the physical side, which you have to put on top of it? The liquid you drink covers the fluid side. The material you put on your kidney covers the physical side. But what happens to the gaseous part if you don't breathe? You're still limping. And then all of you have the same problem continuously. It works, but sometimes works. Because, my dear, can you tow a car when you haven't connected the tow rope? You can have the most powerful engine with a tow rope hanging on the floor. When you don't connect it on to the car you want to tow. Where is your amino acid? The tow line is not there. The tow rope is not connected. Then you come to the position of another tow rope. You put the tow rope up. Now you have to put the lights, that the light in the back of the tow car shows somebody is towing and it's comfortable and safe. Where is your connection with the emotion of the man, which is the zinc? You have to connect both tow bars that you can pull and you can keep safe. And none of you follow the procedure. One or two people understood, like Dr. Rodriguez, and they disappeared. Because all of you have to understand this. Because it's not a magic, it's an understanding of the totality. Because the doctors understand, and they understand, appreciate the essence of creation, like Dr. Rodriguez. They see right through. Then all these brings question mark. I have these, but like physicians, why can't I help everyone and some? Because then you have to extend the condition of understanding of which part of the emotion with the direction of physicality, with the essence of the soul of physicality and the soul of the man brings these positions. This is why many of the physicians who join the Keshe Foundation get frustrated because they cannot see the whole picture because their knowledge is not complete. Is not to be the physician anymore of the physical life. The present and the cycle of the physicians we start training have to understand the totality of the creation. Interaction of the fields in the fields of the gaseous side. Interaction of the fields in the dimension of the liquid side. Interaction of the fields in the dimension of physical life. And then interaction of the what we call the emotion which created from the totality of the fields of the tree in interaction with the field of the soul of the man. And in fact, if the soul of the man did not have all the characteristics which is within the physical brain of the man as emotion, how could it understand and control? And then we understand why in a physical life, something very precious. And that is when the soul of the man creates an emotion and the fields which in interaction with the field of the soul of physicality, we see manifestation of the position, which means this is the where I feel joy. So if that's the case within the soul of the man, there is an essence and emotion of joy that in a given field of strength, in a given position and structure of the man, in the brain of every man leads to the position of the creation of the combination of the matter state of the Glands in the different strength and combination, a position where magnetic fields created that creates the emotion of the happiness, for example, that both the soul of physicality and the soul of the man agree with. Then we see why, as I said, the brain of the man has very much structure like the physicality of the man, the liver, the kidney, and everything else. And we call it the happiness, the sadness, and every other emotion. The fallacy in the present world of science, they say only the brain, maximum brain used by the man is an intelligent man, and he uses maybe 10%, 15% of it. Now the 85% is not used. What a fallacy. Is it true when you're not using your finger, the rest of the body is dead? Is it true when you're not using your leg to walk, the arms and the intestine, everything else is dead? Or are they functioning in the background to make sure that the leg, the blood is dead, everything else is dead, that the walk can happen by the leg? So we understand for the first time, the brain of the man is on work 24 hours a day, not only used for the part which man sees as his intelligence. In a way, the structure of the brain of the man is set as a vast memory computer system that it knows continuously on its work 24 hours a day, which cell needs to be changed in physicality, when is the time for the blood cell to change, when is the time to change a bone cell somewhere, when is the time to change the kidney cell somewhere. So those who tell you that the brain of the man is only used by 15% is those who actually believed the earth is the center of the universe. In fact, just because we don't see using it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. If there was any part of the brain of the man which the interaction of the fields of the soul of the man and soul of physicality of the man would not interact to give existence to it, it would have not been there. It would have been empty gas, empty space in the brain cell. In a coming time, we explain in a very detail why even what you see in the brain of the man, for example, when we look, we see shapes like this. And we look at everything else in two sides of the brain. One of the most important structure in the physical structure of the brain of the man, inside the skull of the man, are these gaps. They are more important in some cases than the physical matter. When you look at so many brain X-rays or MRIs, you will see the beauty of these gaps. You can see and decide on the intelligence by the gap created among the cell, among the structure. If you looked at as many X-rays and MRIs as I have done with the people with MS, people with the fibromyalgia, people with ILS, people with depression, you see the shape of these gaps, the shape of the brain changes as they recover. Because these are the space gaps, these are the gaps between the Earth and the Moon, these are the gaps between the Sun and the Earth, which dictates the behavior of the Earth. What Earth produces. And these gaps in the world of science is totally ignored up to now, and it cannot do so. When you look at an X-ray, when you look at MRI of a brain, to me, I always look at these gaps of structure. Where is closer? Where is separate? How is shaped in the brain? Then, because of the gap, you understand if you have a Venus, you have an Earth, or you have an operation of Jupiter. This is what the man of the science of tomorrow has to learn about the position of the fields, because the brain of the man is made of magnetic fields, what we call the Ganses, of combination of the carbon CO2, magnesium, zinc, and some other materials. And if we get one little field strength of, for example, as we said, sulfur in the dimension of the position of one gland, leads to control of everything to do with the structure. It changes the fields which the hormone creates, because it's the immediate substation next to the sun, to the solar. As I said, in a coming time, I might return to Tehran in a very short time, by setting up the collaboration with the University of the Iran National Defense University, will train the doctors to become the man of space. Because in space, the shape of these brains will not have a carbon or CO2, or we will not have the zinc. It'll have the combination of the field strength of the environment, and it could be made of any material. But the interaction of the field of that material with the dimension of physicality will tell a physician from Earth having a physical body from another corner of the universe, how can I deal with him? How can I help him? How can I change his life? Because now I understand the totality process of the creation. When you're an Indian doctor sitting in the office in New York, does not matter to you if a red Indian comes in, a black man comes in, or redneck comes in, or a white man comes in. It's all the same, because he understood the physicality and the physiology of the body of the man, that everything where it is and how it works. Now, the next generation of the scientists and the doctors of the man, we call them, in space, we look, because he had understood the totality of the creation, what does field, where is in the center, what's the strength of the soul, and what is the strength of the physicality, in respect that he is on this planet or another position in the space, will give me that I can repair the emotion of happiness for him at this point. When you have an overall view of understanding of totality, then it becomes very easy to be able to be the physician of the universe and not the physician of the man. In understanding, in comprehending the process of the creation, mankind has become wise to totality of many. For the first time, we show in a coming time how we create physical life from interaction of the souls, not from the interaction of the sperms and the egg, that it leads to creation of physical life in any dominion. In so many ways, mankind in a physical dimension would not have what I call children in a space, because in space, the physical structure of the amino acid of the man, which created the soul of the man, has a different combination in physicality than the others, and what we call intermarriage will become in the physical dimension some of the impossibilities. But if you can work into the strength of the soul, you can create the strength of the soul dimension that it decides and creates its own manifestation in the environment of the womb of the environment. Be it the womb of the mother, be it the womb of the center of galaxy, be it the womb of the center of the universe, or somewhere in between the universe. At the moment, if you're born in air, you get the United Nations passport because you have no nationality. What happens when you're born in the gap space between the universes? Which universe do you belong to, and what combination do you get? Because then you have the collection fields of the whole combination of fields of the universe. Mankind has to open its eyes to the fact that through these teachings, we raise your horizon of understanding beyond the point of your imagination of today. But the reality cannot be ignored. You cannot shoot the messenger because you don't like the message, because it doesn't fit into your program. The message is on the table. It's for you to understand it, to comprehend it, and if need be, to develop it to become the next step. In a coming time, in collaboration between different nations in Iran, in Beijing, in Washington, in New York, or in London, or in Paris, the scientists will work to decipher the process of the creation. All these scientists will put in behind the computers to design the killing machines. They'll be given the opportunity to find the secret of life, to create the machines to travel the span of the universe through the process of understanding the operation of the soul. We have educated them. Now we have to change the machine, that they change the tools of war to peace and to everlasting. From now on, as I said before, the race and the position and the prestige of a nation will come not by the bank reserves and by killing machines you have, but by the knowledge you have added to the knowledge of humanity in conquering the universe, by learning and giving it freely as fast as we can. We have called it Bitcoin. Now we call it BitBrain, Bit Travel Space, that collectively we all mine into the knowledge of the universe. Collectively we add into the totality of the knowledge of the creation. Man will get so busy in adding that we will not have time to think of war. You'll see the beauty in the creation of peace and knowledge than creating wars. In the upcoming talks between the world leaders, there will not be the discussion who leads in the military and in commerce, but who leads in the knowledge, who's adding to the knowledge, who's increasing the knowledge of the man to go further in the depth of the knowledge of the Creator. In a position which will be announced very soon, will take the position to lead this direction, to lead mankind to the point to understand, first of all, to the interaction of its own physical life and dimension of the soul of the physicality. In a coming time, as we are developing systems in the research centers, we will not give birth to the physical life as opposed to give birth in the what we call delivery rooms of the hospitals of today. In the processes that now has started, and I was discussing with knowledge seekers yesterday, we transport the soul of the body of the man to the environment of the earth, and then the physicality which is established within the womb of the mother or the womb of the universe will manifest itself as the beauty of the creation that I am present. In a coming time, as the evolution of the science comes about, the delivery of children in the delivery rooms becomes a historical point. That now, if you like, the same as we send you to the other side of the universe in UFOs, or you can travel with the soul of the man in any dimension, now the mothers have an option of creating, allowing the life to be created by transmutation of the soul of the child into the environment, and not in the dimension of physicality and with all the problems we have seen in death of the mother and the child during the delivery, in the formation of the brain and a long-lasting physical damage. These all become point of the past in the next few years. Keshe Foundation and its research centers have already processed and has started this process to deliver systems that we can transmute the dimension of the energy of the soul of the man in one point to another, that the soul of the child moves from the mother on the point of his what we call completion, and then it takes the shape of the physicality according to the wish of the soul itself and the fundamental appearance and the wish of the mother and the child and the father and the society. These are not fairy tales. We know the knowledge. We have access to the knowledge. And as we've shown you, the horizontal and the vertical and transportation, now we are working on the next step. but they come collectively together in one system sooner or later. The new vertical enhancement units, what we call the present generation, is very different than what we showed originally 6 weeks ago. And the next generation, which will be able to elevate the soul of the child, the infant, from the soul of the mother's physicality, will be slightly more different, but more deeper, much stronger, more defined with truth. In so many ways, we used to give birth in the deserts on the sand. Now we have found a way to increase the rate of survival. We deliver them in the operating rooms of the polished hotels, or what are called human hotels, we call them hospitals. Now the man moves to the next generation. We deliver children in the environment where the soul of the man can exist and decide. This is why in the few past teachings I explained that in the coming time we place the vertical units inside the horizontal units, where the mother is in the horizontal, in the vertical, and we transfer the soul of the child in the horizontal environment, that we see the manifestation and delivery to the physical dimension. These are the truth about the development of the technology in coming time. This is the evolution in the science. This is understanding more the process of the creation. You will see radical systems which appear in coming weeks, months, from the Keshe Foundation, both in 2 or 3 nations at the same time. Upon my return to Iran at the back end of June, we will create the condition of the space centers which are devoted to serving humanity through elevation of the soul of the man. As we leave the physicality, as we teach to NASA and Russian Space Agency, as they like to have something to play with. The growth and the intellect of man today has reached the maturity of understanding the totality. And the only barrier for him is his power and his arrogance and lack of understanding of totality. So many ways, mankind has entered the dimension of the creation and the creator. In so many ways, we cannot move backwards. The only choice is left to us is to move forward and then choose different ways to stay on this planet, to take the wings of the fields of the plasma of the universe and travel in the dimension of the soul, or take the dimension of the physicality of the man and travel with the UFOs or the car or a jet. They're all now in hand of the man. I like the bicycle from Paris to Amsterdam. I like to take a flight. I like to go in a car, or I do a walk. Now we can add, I can go with UFO if you like to call it, or I travel with my soul. One, I'll be there immediately. The other ones, I have the others to enjoy. The other ones allows me to enjoy the physical scenery. Man now has the option, the new option to be able to. In so many ways, we have developed the knowledge of the creation, and we understand the love of the creator in creating such. It's us that has to understand the different colors, races, creeds in the universe as we have on this planet. We have to come to understand how they have become to be as they are, and how we can become and learn about them. We learn about the Chinese cooking and the Italian pizza. Now we learn about different processes that different lives and creeds in the universe feed themselves. I don't like to see the separation due to lack of knowledge, but the separation through the proudness of knowing totality, that the choice become a right, not force becoming the pressure to accept. The world of science today has matured. And through the teachings of the Keshe Foundation in the past 8 years, we have matured to the point that we think many of our scientists have matured to that point, that they can lead us and not get frightened with the level of energy as a virus. The totality of the knowledge of today is deep. It's mankind who has to decide which part of the knowledge he likes to take. We are worried about clean water. We are worried about the atmosphere. We are worried about the cancer. We are worried about everything else because we have chosen the path of physicality. If you choose the path of the plasma, change in the fields, man will know that none of these will become a problem, not for his physical life, nor for the structure of his soul. In so many ways, mankind has entered a new era of the knowledge in extreme, era of understanding the totality of the creation, the era that man can decide on his own where and how to make, to manifest, and to operate. Mankind up to now on earth has lived a life very much like the communist times of 1960s in Russia, that everything was dictated and everybody had to follow. Now mankind has become free in knowledge, in understanding, and he decides how to live. We have freed ourselves from the restriction, what are called the straitjackets of leadership, but we don't lead ourselves to freedom out of the straitjackets of the physical life. And this is what is about to happen. This is where the change will come. This is why I said we are all messiahs, because we are the messiah of our own physicality and no one else. You are as a messiah for your physical life and soul, as I am for mine. You have no control over mine as much as I don't have yours. So there is no point for no one to call himself a king. The only king which exists is the kingdom of God, the Creator. And that is all of us to be part of it. There shall be no king, and there shall be no rulers, as we rule ourselves through the correct conduct of the soul. As I said, Mitra is amongst us, and that process has started. And in that process, we understand the totality, the mother of creation, the mother of change, the mother of the new beginning. And in that process, no man can obstruct the process. And anyone touch or tries to stop the process will meet with his own match of his own conversion and diversion and demise. Every man has to be free. Every soul has to be free, but no soul can change the process of understanding and evolution in agreement of the souls, in collective evaluation and the collective elevation of the soul of the totality, not only of one man, but the community, the mankind, and the total elevation of the soul of the universe and the universe. This is how we have become the visible part of the universal community, as up to now we were the invisible part and dismissed, as we always chose the kingship, the killing and destruction of what we call creation of lives. The process of change is very subtle, and it's coming in steps by steps, in coming in process of understanding and creation of step by steps. And in that process, we shall see many changes. We shall see changes not only in what we call physical approach of the man to life, but in essence of the interaction of the life of the man with its others. We think about going to another nation. In a very short time, we think about thinking on another planet, another star. There is no limitation for us, as we don't need to wear any more spacesuits now that we understand the process of the creation and control of the soul of the man. In so many ways, we have come out of the straitjackets of the physical life to understand the process of totality of the creation. In so many ways, as I said, you have to choose. You have to understand the 3 levels of creation on this planet. And at any point, anywhere in the universe, 1 or 2 might not exist. But at the end, the interaction of the fields of the soul of the man with that entity will create a manifestation which befits the environment and the strength of the field in that environment. And if it manifests an attraction of the 2, we shall see a different life. In the world of the creation, we interact in 4 levels. Plasma level, liquid, the solid and gaseous. There is a 5th level, which man is still blind to. And in a coming time, we open that door. When man matures a little bit more to understand it. In so many ways, the fields of the universe are not only there to create and interact, but they are there to be able to manifest on the totality of the creation. Mankind in a coming time will come to understand the process of creation. Mankind in a coming time will come to see by itself, not through the eye of visuality, but through the eye of the soul of the totality. In so many ways, we have become and we have taken shape in the dimension of the soul of man. In so many ways, mankind has started to live a 2-dimensional, 2 straight reaction with the totality of the creation. Mankind is with understanding of its own creation. Maybe one day we come to understand the total truth about our own lives and our own creation. Maybe one day mankind will become so intellectually wise that its wisdom will allow him to see a sprinkle of light from the true essence of the knowledge of the Creator, where the totality of the light of knowledge of the Creator will blind the man's soul that will not see, as he has not matured to that point to reach within the inner sanctum of the strength of his own soul. In the coming time, we change time and position, and in the coming time, we bring a new dimension. My wish is that somewhere in the coming time, enough men of knowledge and men of theology come to understand the truth that we abandon the dogmas of the science and religion, and we all become one to understand the essence of the creation and the Creator. I'll leave you today with these. because I have opened a very deep knowledge which needs to be understood. Please try to listen to the best, at least 4 or 5 sessions, one after another, and start building the picture where we are taking them, where we are leading you to, and how we'll come to interact. We have to understand that the knowledge of the man, the essence of the life of the man, sits within the structure of the physicality of the man, within the interaction of his field with the soul of the man. We will not be here if there was no soul within the structure of our inner physical body. As there would have been no earth if there would have been no center to create fields to interact with the fields of the sun to manifest itself as earth. In the coming time, mankind will become very, very wise to part of the essence of the creation according to his own intent. But I hope and I wish mankind will fall in the hand of the magicians of the space that they might call themselves prophets, as all the knowledge of creation is within the structure of the soul. It's for man to dig deep and deep into the soul's strength to understand the process of the creation of that. The deeper you dig, the more knowledge you gain from the process of creation. And then in one point or other, we will come to mature to that point. I would like to go to a break, and then we come back and we take some questions. Today's teaching will finish at 12 o'clock sharp Central European time, as we teaching is short today. And remember that the next teaching, next Thursday, is at 7 p.m. Central European time, and not at the usual 9 a.m. Central European time. And then thereon, the teaching will go off air at the television center and will become passengers of this planet. We will be in Rome, in London, in Tehran, and Beijing in the coming weeks. And in that process, we shall return back to studio somewhere in August, September. And as I've announced in the teaching, the first international scientific conference of the Keshe Foundation will take shape, and is left to the team of the Romanian nation to organize. We'll meet somewhere around 20th of July in Bucharest, in the capital of Romania, and then we extend the travels to other parts of it. We expect to be in Washington somewhere in September, October. And from then on, will take shape the new understanding. We announce our program in advance, as many things has changed in the Keshe Foundation, and this new structure of the Keshe Foundation with the new management of the two ladies allows me to have a free hand to push with the knowledge and science in exchange for peace between different nations and different governments. And we need to bring the essence of peace to our own leaders, that through it allows us to have peace. I have requested, and in the coming time you shall hear, that some of the world leaders will sign the World Peace Treaty in public, committing their nations and themselves to peace. I have requested for the first signatory to be His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran. And if we manage to get this, we'll get the other religious leaders to submit to the same peace process. The signing of the peace treaty by Iran, religious leader, the nation's leader, is the key to the next step of the peace talks around the world. The Iranian nation will commit themselves to peace. And to that effect, we open all the nuclear centers of Iran June onwards, that the knowledge becomes public knowledge, not nuclear power technology as a weapon, as Iran has been accused of. In this step and this process, we change and we set the scene for world peace and the start of the establishment of the knowledge as a point of what we call to be proud of and not weapons and assets. Thank you very much. We go through the break, and at 12 o'clock today we break. I have to be in a very important meeting. And then, as I said, we meet and we sit for your questions. Would you like to take us to a short break and we'll come back?
Okay, welcome back to the 378th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, April 29th, 2021. Mr. Keshe, are you ready to continue with
Yes.
everything there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we see you and hear you now.
Yeah, but I think on the Zoom we see your picture. You have to pin the video. On the Zoom, I see your picture. Thank you very much. Now we understand. No, we come back to your voice.
It's pinned on my end. I see just your picture.
Yeah, but on Zoom, I see your picture alone. Yeah, it's changed again. Now, on the other one, I've become your picture, I think, on the studio. Anyway, are there any questions?
Okay, let me open up the attendees to be able to make sure they're able to raise their hands. Yes, they are. Okay, so we have an attendee, Salamia, with a hand up. And I'll check for questions in the YouTube as well.
Yeah. Somehow on the Zoom side, you keep on, when you speak, you come up. There's a problem on your end. You have to pin it. We are okay in the studio. Zoom share, you pop up.
You'll have to change that at your end to pin to the second screen or something. I've already got your the image pinned here, and it's just of your image is all we see.
Yep, no problem. Carry on, please.
Okay,
hello, Mr. Keshe. Thank you for the lovely teaching about hormones and formation of the brain and all. God bless you. And I would like to have a proposal for KF if it's possible to teach about the power of silence to transmute our fields, our soul. Thank you. This is my my proposal, and much love to you, Mr. Keshe.
I don't understand what you mean, the power of silence.
The power of silence, I mean, we have two spheres of the brain, the logical one, and to silence this logical in order to give more possibilities and freedom to the emotional one. And this can create us the potential to transmute and to go out from our body to get the freedom to travel in the space, to travel where we'd like to do. And you did with us a lovely exercise, and I love it very much. And we repeat it in our meetings many times, and we feel quite well, everybody, in order to get harmony and peace of the soul and many, many benefits of the silence of our logical brain.
This is the fake imagination of the man. Just because you don't make noises through your voice box doesn't mean that the brain is not functioning and creating its own noise. And the environment is the same. When you speak about the silence through the mouth of the people talking, does not mean that the brain and the soul is in silence. And this is what I always said in the previous teaching, early teaching, some 2-3 years ago, is that you don't need to hear, to see, to know what the man is thinking. man of space do not speak man's language, even though us as a human being don't speak each other's language. When you sit in a room from 10 different nationalities, none of them speak each other's nationalities, they all smile and face, there's no noise, there's no communication. But all the souls in that point are in communication with each other and across to others. In so many ways, silence is a dimension of physical man. As we say, there is nowhere in the universe that there is no magnetic field. As the brain of the man, as the soul of the man is made of the fields, their interaction always makes noise. And how we accommodate and control these leads to the notion of what we call sounds, or dimension of understanding the presence of existence of another. So silence is a man-made. And those who are very physical rely on it, that they think they have achieved something. It's very much as we rely on the televisions, what's on the television is the truth. It is the same way. We don't need silence. You can be as noisy as you like, break the whole city down with noise, but have a very low interactive soul. Or your soul is making bigger noises than you in interacting with the other souls which you have awakened through your noise. The biggest punishment is a punishment of silence. And in that time, maybe it's time for man to contemplate, but in so many ways, we are created to interact. And in that interaction, silence in the world of physicality, when two are together, is a prison sentence that no soul has to sustain, but sometimes allows for emotion to process themselves. That in that process allows the elevation of the soul, maybe, or direction and dimension of the evolution and transmutation of the soul's energy to deeper understanding of one's failure or interaction to success of understanding more. So when you go on a silence, just understand one thing. It's you in a physical dimension have chosen that, not your soul, and no other souls in the same room. Maybe souls have much busier talking when you're physically silent.
Lovely.
Any other question?
Thank you so much. I have other question, if you allowed me. May I?
Rick, what do you see in the background?
Okay.
Are you
see
there?
Here. Yes, do you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I'm just having a look here at the YouTube. There was a question earlier from Angel, who asks, "Dear Mr. Keshe, is the plasma shield a magnet field? If so, what metal or combination of metals causes such a wide dome as the one on the island protected from the hurricane?" So she would be referring to the Tom Salas dome of protection. Yes. So she's asking, is the plasma shield a magnet field? And if so, what metal or combination of metals causes such a wide dome?
The interaction of the fields of ganses leads to the creation of these domes. It's not a metal. It's a plasmatic field extension, and we see it even in our laboratory parts when we do testing, depending on how you test, but it's not a metal. and not necessarily metal. If there were metals in so many ways, partially will create different manifestation, and is mainly through the condition of the fields, which not strong enough to manifest tangibility or physical, what we call dome. But strong enough in combination with the environment that they can divert these kind of things. In 2 or 3 years, 3 years ago more, when we were testing in China, in South China Sea area, we had a very strange positions. We were not very far from what we call Chinese naval headquarters, the largest naval base of China. And the strangest thing we saw, and this repeated itself a few times in a matter of very short time, 2 or 3 weeks, was that we had a swimming pool on the roof. Then we had a number of roofs that different shape and dimensions of dynamic, static magraphs, field producing systems were set on this roof. And somehow this roof was interacting and absorbing a lot of energy, creating storms. And every time storm came, it created a short circuit into the main grid and blew the local area. And as we walked and we measured different fields on the roof and in the pool, we noticed something very strange, that how it takes time, these fields, to connect to each other and charge up and create like a dome in the environment of the building and beyond. This was reduced every time we set up the flight system on the ground floor of this building, because we start becoming the absorber of what they used to create above us into the systems. And a couple of times we changed a little bit on the roof, even some ganses, and we saw the changes in the control body of the, what we call the test units. When in the final phase, in a storm which we brought a lot of energy to us, it was a matter of shielding, it was absorbing, interacting. We created a reverse process that we released huge amount of energy upwards out of the building. We had cameras positioned in the room, in the lab. We could see with remote cameras 24 hours a day. And when the test was getting done, I wasn't in Sanya, but I was in Beijing. And I was monitoring the cameras. At about 1 o'clock, because earlier on, I started seeing changes in the fields of the room, of the control room. I sent a message to our people in the government that we are on a test phase. It's all recorded on the WeChats with the officials. That we are in a test phase. It was about, I think about 8, 10 o'clock at night. That we have entered the phase of the plasma, and we have to inform the official minister or person who was in charge with us. And I was very intrigued how the fields were gathering in this room. The Keshe Foundation team, about 11 o'clock or so, they went to bed. And as I was monitoring, about 1 o'clock, on the 22nd of July, I saw the fields take shape, and we had like 2 reactors. You've seen these pictures of the test. And the door was at the front. The reactor closest to the door started creating like a funnel-shaped field, which went through the door. We could see it building up, and we had a black screen. I knew we had a runaway system. We injected fields into outside boundary. Beyond us, there's a railway and the main grid line into the city. Before, when we created these things, in the previous time when we created these domes, fields, we blew up the substation near us and it was brought back up again. This time, the field, because it came from the top into the building and the system was creating its own energy, we crossed into the main grid of the city and we created a huge damage in the city center. The whole part of the city blacked out. At 1:01, I sent a message to the officials. I'm sorry, we lost control of the system. And a small message came back. It's research, we accept responsibility. And what was strange for me is we have the roof with all the systems on it. Knowledge seekers were sleeping on the middle gap, and we were on a base floor. And I had to wake up the guys in there. They'd never seen anything, they didn't feel anything. And it shows these fields are beyond the body of the man to absorb, to set. And if you've seen the pictures from these tests, the floor separation reactors were all orange in color with the gases you put in them. It was a specific combination. After the process, they were all clear white, clear water. And all the energies of all our reactors, more or less, except very few, were gone. In a way, you see in your test reactors or in your ganses, they change red to green or black as the energy changes. We literally lost energy in all my graphs. There's 100 and altogether 300 reactors plus more or less 80–90% are all white clear. There was just water. Then a rough calculation of the atomic mass, because we loaded these specifically in a specific way over days. Each reactor was combination loaded for producing material, producing energy, producing water and everything else. We calculated something like 5 megawatts of energy was released into the grid. In a way, if you understand the process, we didn't burn anything in our systems. Our systems, all the batteries, because they were not connected to the power grid that could be damaged, we were self-sustained with batteries and recharging batteries within the structure itself. We were undamaged. But a building less than 10 meters from us, which was an ice-making company and refrigeration and a frozen food section, they went through a damage over $100,000 that night. Everything was blown up. The ones beyond it were worse, some of them. And we estimate we created damage in billions. And the Chinese officials accepted all the damages. And because we had a connection with the ice-making company and the freezer, 3 days it took them to bring them back up into operation. In so many ways, We don't look at the plasma as a dome. We look at what we create that we can pull in from the environment as a plasma. But we had, in a way, hardly any metal in our systems. We didn't have, we just used a deep plasma, nuclear plasma technology. I was talking to our knowledge seekers yesterday, explaining some things in the process of our experiments. And I said to them, I'm a nuclear physicist. I look at the nuclear interaction of the materials and not in what material they are, because if you understand nuclear plasma technology, it is very easy to create anything. For me, to create oxygen is as easy as creating gold, because to me, they both have no value except functionality of what I can use them for in the process of the gain of knowledge. In the same process, if you look at the structure of what we call the enhancement unit, material enhancement unit, when we show it, I don't know if you have any of the pictures you can put up, Rick, you see the sun in the center and a combination of the field strength deciding what materials we can produce. To me, if you look and we go back into understanding of the totality, we went back to sulfur, a couple of teachings before, which is around about 34. And this is the number of reactors we have in our enhancement units. Because I understand the totality of the structure, that with 34 in a combination of the fields I know, I can create anything in the universe on the level of the man's need. Because with sulfur, I can go down to matter states. With sulfur in combination with the others, I can go up to what I want. So if you look at it in a condition of plasma technology, two sulfurs and a phosphor combination fields will give me a neural system control in the zinc environment. I can change it slightly higher or lower, and I'll get the same. Now you understand what we have in these enhancement units. I can create anything with this system up to and beyond 1,000 atomic mass and above. This is the beauty of the knowledge. In positioning, we gain the knowledge, how we compress for a higher field. This is why the material enhancement units are the state-of-art knowledge in creation of life anywhere in the universe. What you see in the center there, I can put the soul of the child in the womb of the mother, and in interaction with the other fields, transmuted outside. My knowledge of creation is complete, in line with what man needs to know for centuries and thousands of years to come. If you go back on all the teachings in past 10 or 15 years, go back to some of the papers I've written before Keshe Foundation was established, go back to some of the work I've done during my university time. There are some papers around still. Some designs of the deep space reactors were designed in 1978, 1979. I have them somewhere. You will understand what you see here in 2021 was already known 40 years ago, right? It just took to, in a way, water it down step by step for man to understand. I remember I was not more than 18, 19, sitting in a bar, in a restaurant called the Swan Head outside Manchester in Knutsford, near British nuclear fuel with a friend of mine. And I was drawing him the future space reactors for creation of materials and space units. And he said, no one understands you because you're talking so advanced, we don't even have the knowledge. At that time, I used to work with BNFL scientists just about maybe less than 5 kilometers away in British Nuclear Center. This knowledge was very clear to me from the beginning that if you look at it, we understand this process now in a deeper way, but by many more of us. In the coming time, what if I can find out those notes, those papers, you don't see any difference. Knowledge has to be understood, and once you understood, does not need to be remembered. And the knowledge of creation was very clear to me by the age of 12, 13. But I could not explain the totality. It's a very interesting point. A couple of weeks ago, one of the close friends in Iran sent me a video that one of the Iranian scientists was speaking about the soul and the process of the life and the soul of the man. And I said to the friend, can you please take the video of what you just listened about the cycle of creation and tell him what this eminent scientist in Iran goes. This is from there onwards afterwards. We understand so much more. And this process of creation should be very simple for us. In that system, we created them. But the same as you have the soul of the man in the center and the skull of the man to contain in the interaction of the fields of what we call physicality, the soul of the man is the machine in the center you see. And the body of the enhancement unit is the skull. And the system inside are the creators of the fields of the what we call physical soul. With these systems, I can not only create the material status, I can create for you in any position to see the strength and the fields of the emotion of the man. In a way, if you understand, I'm trying to get the picture. If you understand, in the interaction between this and this, I can create and measure the strength of the sadness. And with this and this, the happiness. If you look, the shape of this machine is oval. You have places where you're closer and the places you're further. I can create the condition by positioning this, the field strength of the hormones. This machine is so complete that in due course, we can do many things in it. If I bring inside this system, what you will see will come. Let me clean this out, you will understand. If I bring the vertical enhancement unit here and condition it in this environment with everything else in the background, and I put a pregnant mother here, I can transfer the soul of the child to here, as I said. where there is no harm done to the mother and the child is still in safe in the environment, but if we can keep an eye to and watch the manifestation of its physicality. Depends how I tune the systems. 34 reactors. Then you understand how advanced this technology is. We call it universal material enhancement. But in fact, we can even enhance the soul and allow to see how we have in the future when we have souls of other creatures of the Creator, in putting them in this condition, we can allow the soul to manifest itself in a dimension of the physicality of the man's atmospheric condition to see how they will look. And vice versa. Most of you have not gone far enough to see the beauty of these systems. You're looking for gold and not look for the knowledge of Creator in these systems. You're too much entangled with physicality, and I'm too interested to see how, in what level, I can create a field that fields become the strength of the field of the Creator within the center of my system. Can the knowledge of the man reaches a point that one day we become close enough that the interaction of release of field of us, we can see ours in the dimension of interaction with the field of Creator? How would we shine? In the old say, what you see in the finished pot, I see in the clay. It's the level of understanding the knowledge and being open enough to accept the truth of the knowledge according to the understanding. We have all the knowledge we need. And we have access to every knowledge we need. It's just that if we choose to use the knowledge. Except that if, when, and the reason we choose to use the knowledge. On Sunday, in the American teaching, one of the knowledge seekers said to me, it's recorded, about how I cannot help myself with the knowledge I have with my faith. And last night, talking to some knowledge seekers, I thought it's so simple. It took me less than a minute to make a mixture. And since last night, I suffer from none. Because it was to prove that I have the knowledge. And as you've seen today, I carry no handkerchief, I carry no sign of hay fever, which I've suffered with for years between March and June. That's simple. We have access to every knowledge, but it depends on the emotion and the fields and the, what I call the emotion of the time. It's not just because you use. We let the physical dimension, the mistakes of the physicality to take shape, that with it we learn. With it, mistakes become a gain in the knowledge and not mistakes, but the opportunity to learn. For that reason, you see the evolution in these systems. I'm looking for the totality of the knowledge of the creation. You look for the sun, you look for a system to make gold. I look for the soul of the creator in the same machine, the same system. Is my knowledge enough to interact with direct soul of the creator to see how I shine? A dim star or a shining star in the presence of the reflection of the light of the creator is knowledge and beauty. Or am I the creator that in interaction with the knowledge we see how the others shine so beautiful? We all come from, go back to. It depends, are we on the magnetic cycle or are we on the gravitation cycle of existence in the universe? And what don't we create? In the interaction of the fields of us with the dimension of the creator. Any other question?
We have a hand up with Mehran here. Go ahead, Mehran. Hello, Mehran.
Maybe
it was an accidental hand raising.
maybe she's forgotten she put her hand up.
Are there any other attendees here? There's we've got quite a few attendees. Anybody that has a question? There's something I'd like to bring up. We were talking yesterday in the Keshe Plasma Reactor group about the processes that you brought up in the last workshop. We played it back actually several times. You talked about energy transformation, which then led to energy transportation, and then to energy transmutation. And then you mentioned within the body of the man, and that it can be learned. And I wondered if you would discuss that a little more and give us more hints on what is it we can learn and how is it we can learn about those processes.
Okay, go back to the 3 words.
Okay, we've got transformation.
Your transmutation is the last one.
Transmutation is the last one you say?
Yeah,
Sorry?
out of the 3.
Yeah. Transformation, transportation, and then transmutation.
Isn't that book number 1, 2, and 3?
Exactly. I pointed this out, and that's what it occurred to me.
But in the level of energy of the solar.
Mm-hmm.
The transportation is the going from one to another. Transmutation is the manifestation of end products in the soul level. And transformation, because we are there, we can see physically the process. It's which part of it you want to be. But at the same time, all 3 is on a field level, not on a matter level. Fields have to transport themselves from one to another. and they manifest themselves at that point, at the end. In a way, with the present knowledge, we can dictate and control most of these systems. And in a coming time, we will show you how you can amplify field strength. You can change the field strength. You can create combination of the fields. And the answer is very simple. It's just move up from matter state into the plasma state, and then from then on to understand the totality. I made man in the image of myself. But if I'm here to manifest man in my image, I have to travel to the point somewhere that I can manifest myself. This is what we say. It's a very, very interesting point if you look at it in a physical dimension or in energy dimension. You stand in front of the light and you have a shadow. If the shadow is in front of you between the light and you, which means there is a stronger light from behind, or is the shadow behind you that you are between the light and the shadow? Who is creator of which? And who is manifestation of what? Is the soul of the man still exist in the shadow on the ground? Does that shadow contains emotion? Or how come the reflection of our physicality, which is against itself, if it's changed slightly, would there be a shadow? If we live in the dimension of the plasma field. And then if we are in that state, would the shadow still carry the soul? Or one is a transmutation of the field of the other. Don't forget that the shadow on the ground receives the fields of the earth faster than before us. Is our shadow the interaction of the fields of our field with the field of the earth that creates that condition of what we call image without the soul? Or is there a soul in that shadow? Then, if you understand this, comes a point, what happens if we change the strength of the light? If we make it dimmer, that in the absence of the light, there is no shadow and none of us, we don't exist, because there is nothing to shine on us to show the shadow. Then isn't that the essence of the creation and the creator? With the love and the light and the fields of the creator, we manifest ourselves, that with it, the shadow is the existence of the physicality of the man, where the soul of the man decides the shape of the shadow. In so many ways, we become the soul of physicality, and our shadow becomes the physicality. It just follows as instructed. And as the soul, which is the light, decides to interact with it and manifest itself in different strength and different, what we call shade of shadow. This runs man into essence of theology, which in fact, if you understand it, brings us back to the point of the knowledge and the science, of understanding the point of the creation and the creator. In the coming time, we got to understand the knowledge of the man will become so deep that he can even give life to his shadow. transmutation of the fields. If we can interact between the physical body and a shadow on the floor, we can give enough life to it that will mimic and be a copy of the physicality which created it. It's the lack of knowledge that makes this impossible for man. But in truth, if in a coming time, mankind become wise enough to understand this, where the light comes from, where your physicality exists, and where your shadow lies, if you could create the fields strong enough in a direction and in that dimension, you can give life as physicality, the shadow of man. This knowledge is not a hidden knowledge, it's just that mankind does not have the knowledge to be able to do so. In a way, is a continuity of the existence as the shadow is created by the interaction of the fields of the earth as much as the field interaction of the lights from the source. It's just that we haven't reached to that level of knowledge to be able to do so. And if you can do so, you'll come to a very deep understanding that I can create many men from the shadow. If I can interact at each point and transfer enough energy that can be replicated. In the present world, you call it cloning. In the world of creation, we call it replication of the field. But one thing for sure, none will have the same emotion, as each one interacts with its own environment of the existence of presence. We have talked about this in a different way, being present in one place and maybe two at the same time. Now we teach you this in a coming time. Then you understand the transportation and transmutation. We transport, and then at the same time, we transmute. What you need to see. Could be this on Earth and this on Mars. How would you look? Even the soul is the same in understanding. There's a deep knowledge of space technology and not open to many races of the universe. It has a lot of implication and application. Any other question? We have short time, 20 minutes.
Yes, we have Kay with a question or would like to speak.
Good morning, Mr. Keshe.
Good morning,
my greeting to all the knowledge seekers. Thank you very much for this beautiful enlightenment. And I'm wishing and I'm hoping to God that we as humans learn it as fast as possible. My question would be more or less in the same line as what you have been teaching today. I wanted to find out, if it's possible, please, how many times, if you were to be exposed through the field or within the field of the enhancement unit, the body enhancement unit, you would be able to achieve enlightenment of your soul, where your soul will have more control on your physicality or in sync with your physicality?
You don't need the enhancement unit to reach enlightenment. And you don't need the process of what we call enlightenment to understand the totality. We don't sell sessions for enlightenment at the moment for the enhancement unit, and God forbid if we ever get to that point. The enlightenment comes from the understanding of the truth without any dogmas. And in that process, man is not knowledgeable enough to be able to distinguish. In the future, maybe. Not maybe, for sure. And enlightenment cannot be bought, the same as you cannot buy love. And the same as we say, I decide how much you receive from the love, and I condition. You have to be happy with what I give you. And this is where the dogmas of ignorance and the truth comes in. And in so many ways, the child and the point of birth can be enlightened. And man of 90 still be searching. Enlightenment is not for sale as much as you cannot buy love, or you can love. And in so many ways, we have not made enlightenment enhancement unit yet, and I hope we never do. Then we have many people claiming to be prophets. Any other question?
God bless you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We have a question from Sylviane in the Q&A, who says, Mr. Keshe, in the North American teaching this Sunday, someone asked you a question, are we one? And your answer, which intrigued me, is in the form of interrogation, are we part of the one? So my question is it because when we say we are one, we are in a way already in physics? And in a way, this cannot be, it is nonsense, as if we are one, we are already minus one, the front and the back side. And we have plasma, which is zero, the center, which in a way is the unification or the addition of the two, is one way to visualize. Can you please develop this topic? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. When we say we are one, because we are part of the Creator, because we are created by the fields of Him. So we are part of the one. We are not the one to be outside and compared to another one to be added to. It's inclusion. And we are all part of that inclusion. And there's nobody outside. Even the Creator is part of that one. So as much as we are created, we are part of the creation ourselves. As we said in this video of the soul, that our souls end up to become creator of many souls. And this is the beauty of it. This is the most interesting part of the cycle, that we understand we are in every dimension. It's us who's got to choose which dimension we want to manifest ourselves, or we want to be in a dimension that in that field we are not visible in a physical direction. Man is too physical. Until he does not let that go, he'll have this problem and a blockage of seeing beyond the line of his vision. They say the horizon is 17 kilometers, 17 miles. That's to the eye of the man. The vision of the soul of the man is to the Creator, from the beginning and beyond. In so many ways, if the soul of the Creator is in the center, and you are somewhere at a point of millions of universes down the line, then, and there are many millions of universes after you, away from the creator, do you become the center? Or we look at the totality of the whole structure that we are centered to, that we are one. We are part of the essence of the creation itself. Without us, even as a soul of the man, there is something missing in the structure of the universal creation and the beauty of the creator. We are all beautiful in the soul, and we are functionable, and we are the effective part of it, and depends in what you want to do and how it is. As I said before, we are that cell on the skin of the toe. You misfunction, the toe gets itchy, it can tip over, it can break your neck. So that little toe, that little cell on that toe is as important as the foot and the brain, because everything has to be as part of one and synchronized.
Okay, there's a similar question.
We are all, and all is one. Carry on.
A similar question is the next question from Paulo in the Q&A, who asks, there are here hierarchical structures in the governments of nations, as there must be in the world of the Creator. Can you please tell us about the hierarchical structure in the divine world of the Creator?
There is no hierarchy. It's just man has got used to it. You should have learned from the structure of the knowledge seeker's teaching. And I always say, I'm a knowledge seeker. It just depends on what knowledge you seek. You seek knowledge to make a magnet, to have a less electricity bill. I seek the knowledge of the Creator. But in essence, we are all knowledge seekers. And there is no hierarchy. Cannot be, as we are all process of the same creation. It's us who decides, oh, the guy's closer to God than me, so it must be better. No, it's just that you have to find out what you need to understand to be able to understand what he understands. Then it's just a matter of understanding, it's not a hierarchy. In the government of the Creator, there are no presidents, no kings, no ministers, and no civil servants. These are man-made and only exist on this planet. As man has accepted himself to be lower than the other, so he has allowed the other to rule. We have to understand. The only thing which exists in the process of creation is asking and be given. And once the given is the right of existence and cannot be changed because so many decisions has been made on that. And you cannot say, oh, I agreed, I didn't know. What you agreed, what you knew, it was part of your soul already knew the consequence and existence. And cannot be changed. Will not be changed because so many souls have taken that position according to their agreement. This is what I always say, ask, and if you're given, you make a decision on that given. You cannot claim on the ignorance of not knowing because now it doesn't suit me. And if you take what you have not asked and you're not given, you stand for adjustment. That adjustment can bring a lot of different things for the point of the existence of the physical dimension. Because then the souls bring to that point that the physicality has to learn from the what I call not doing or following the what was agreed, because it's suited, not just because you didn't know, maybe you knew or not knew, but the souls are aware of the process. We're coming to nearly end of the teaching today. It's nearly 12 o'clock. I have to be in a meeting. It's important for the foundation and the future of foundation. I say goodbye to you today. Meet you next Thursday in the teachings. And I'm sure in the following weeks, as we meet in Rome, in London, and different part of the world in coming weeks, as the running of the Keshe Foundation is the hand of the capable ladies, and we are there to start a peace process and conversion and diversion of the knowledge into the hand of every man on this planet. Thank you very much for today. And maybe today is another profound point of teaching. Try to listen to the teachings of past few weeks, one after another if you have time, and then you might be enlightened in the totality of the knowledge which is about to come. Thank you very much. Thanks, Rick. Thanks for everyone in the background. And we'll see you next week at 7 p.m. Central European Time. Thank you.
Okay, very good, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much for yet another Knowledge Seekers workshop here, the 378th in this case, for April 29th, 2021. Is there anything else, any other announcements we need to make or anything else? We have the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace coming up next Tuesday. Let me just get the date on that. That will be Tuesday, May 4th at 4 p.m. Central European time. And of course, we'll be back with the Knowledge Seekers workshop here next week. The same, not the same time and place, but at 7 p.m. Central European time, not at 9 a.m. So just keep that in mind for next week's workshop. Okay, thank you, everyone. See you next time around. Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge in a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GANS plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced, energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered, which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection, as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists, and healthcare centers. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information. Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. KesheFoundation.org/donate.